wait is over.
What's going on, guys? And we're back with the Davis Sports Feud, and I got my buddy Corey Sparks here.
Crossed up, definitely pushed by Paul George, but everything's a push these days.
I just don't think this offense is going to work very well, especially under a defensive coach like Robert.
But I would still probably take like Najee Harris over one of the wide receivers.
What is going on, guys? This is the Davis Sports Feud, and as you can see, T-Bone's driving. We'll come off the top with him. And we have somebody new with. We have someone new with us. Well, not really new. He's been here before. It's Keith Henschel. How we doing today, guys?
Doing good. First football pod for me.
Oh, we're in.
We are in.
Oh, we are so all for this. And this is the first edition of our college football podcast. I know we're 5 weeks late, but that's okay because a lot has happened and we can get a good landscape of the league, the country right now. And I mean, we'll just dive right into it with asking who are our teams that we root for. Me and T-Bone have gone back and forth yelling at each other multiple times. I am quite clearly a Badger fan. T-Bone, I mean, if you can see that shitty sweatshirt he's wearing or long sleeve shirt he's wearing.
It's a t-shirt.
He is a Michigan fan.
I'm driving. You gotta keep the arms free. Gotta be free when you're driving. So gotta stay cool, calm, collected.
And then Keith, where is your allegiance?
Wisconsin. I have nothing to say to T-Bone after last week, so I cannot talk anything bad about Michigan at this moment.
I had that feeling last year. So
I feel like you had that feeling.
It's been a good time.
Yeah.
So with us talking about Wisconsin, Michigan, why don't we come off the top with talking about the Badgers? Get this out of the way early. They're coming off of another god-awful looking loss against the Michigan Wolverines. The final score I don't have in front of me. It was
like 39-10. I don't even know. It got out of hand. I shut it off.
Yeah, same.
Got out of hand.
Looks like we're losing T-Bone.
We got a different angle now.
I know. I'm over here. I'm trying.
No, you're good. If you want to just turn off your camera and we'll catch the audio from you, that'll be good too. We can still hear you. You're just a dark. There you are. Oh, all right. That'll work. We can still hear you. Okay. The question on the board is with yes. Are we good?
Okay, perfect. Because you guys you balanced out now. Sounds good.
All right, we'll be good then. So, is Wisconsin a joke? I would be hard pressed to say no, just because of how poorly they've been playing against these teams. But I mean, the shining moment I would say is all three losses came to current top 15 teams now in the AP poll. If I'm not mistaken, where the hell is Notre Dame ranked now?
I think
it is. Notre Dame's up there. Penn State is 5, 4,
and Michigan is 10.
Iowa's, I mean, you guys take it, and then I'll tell you my thoughts. You guys, because I have the bias view of being a rival, so you guys take it at first.
I'm going to say we are a joke right now, just based on the fact that this hasn't been like – I know last year was the COVID season, but this hasn't been like a one-year joke like the last 4 games. Ever since last year when Mertz took over as quarterback, they haven't been anywhere near what they were. And you can see these games that they win in the past against these top 15 teams. It's not like they don't beat any good teams ever, Wisconsin. They're supposed to be in the top 15 themselves, but they're not even close in my eyes. Like you have a probably not even an average offensive line. You got a quarterback that you don't really know how to use, I think, correctly. Not saying he's any good, but you don't really know how to use him. You got average running backs for once. Jalen Berger was supposed to be the next best thing, and now he doesn't play. So I don't think they really know what they're doing. So that's kind of a joke to me. But I don't know where they go from here. That's my biggest issue. I don't know where they go from here.
That's fair. I mean,
yeah. I think I am not a Chris guy right now. I'm way out on Chris. Way out on Chris.
Yeah, I was like, I think Wisconsin has the makings to be a premier program. Like
They do.
I think you have Alabama, Clemson for a while. I think they're kind of on the downswing. Like USC of old, these like top tier. Ohio State is a pain to me. They're up there, but there's 4 or 5 elite teams year in and year out, and then you have the tier 2, which I think Michigan flirts with being in there. Penn State, Iowa, LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma, some of those, and then you have like tier 3. I think Wisconsin should be a consistently tier 2 team.
Yeah, definitely not in tier. Yeah, no.
Right. Like a lot of people think, they only recruit Wisconsin Midwest guys. They have a lot of Florida, like a lot of their skill positions come from Florida.
Let's also remember that Graham Mertz was a 5-star quarterback out of high school.
Yep.
Like what's happened with him is the biggest joke potentially in college football. Like seriously, that's why that's another reason to prove that's a joke.
I think he's honestly like the worst 5-star quarterback in college football.
DJ, whatever, whatever long
Ungalele,
yeah, Clemson quarterback right now is a 5-star, and that with Clemson, that's rough right now.
I think,
but they're right. Mertz is you're right on.
Well, and the thing is looking up and down this like offense. I don't want to talk bad about the defense because the defense does look good.
They can. I mean, they gave up 31 in one quarter.
Yeah. Well, how many pick sixes was that? Didn't he throw like two pick sixes there?
Okay,
well, it was a complete self-destruct. You can see when teams are just like,
right. So
let's go home.
So my thing is the Michigan game. Somehow Wisconsin was favored. I understand they're at home, but Wisconsin hadn't looked great in any capacity in any game. Even the ones that they won, they didn't look like I always compare the two teams because they're usually similar in the sense of strong defense, want to run the ball. They're old school Midwest Big Ten football. So Michigan and Wisconsin are very similar in that aspect. And Michigan, for all their shortcomings the last 6-7 years, they beat shit out of NIU. They beat Washington, who was ranked, but then we realized it was a fraud. Like, they beat the teams they're supposed to handily. And Wisconsin didn't even put up a fight. I mean, they put up a fight until the fourth quarter and then somehow imploded against Notre Dame. Didn't really put up a fight in the second half against Michigan.
No.
Penn State was a good game. They played okay, but I mean, what was it, 10-7?
Notre Dame, that game was close until the fourth quarter.
The Badgers were up 13-10 in the fourth quarter. Yeah. And then they kick return, and then everything went spiraling out.
I thought it was 10-10.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 13-10 Wisconsin.
I mean, you don't see elite – you just don't see elite teams, not even elite, good solid teams implode like that.
And that, for me, is on – that has a lot to do for me on coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in the stone age of football still, and I understand we have an identity with Wisconsin, but when does the identity come to a head where it's like, yeah, it's good. Like, you can get 10-win seasons here and there, which we consistently do win 9-10 games a year, but when does it – you're never going to get over that in modern-day football right now. Like, you're never going to get over the top there. And I think with Wisconsin, you have a program, like you said, that can be an elite program. It's just like we're stuck in this, like, run the ball down your throat, play really good defense, never open up the playbook. And that's why, just for me, I don't know. I'm out on him.
Okay, so I guess as Badgers fans, now Michigan would Michigan fans, I mean, I lived in Michigan for 2 years right outside of Ann Arbor. I've been a Michigan fan for a long time. I understand, our cultures are different in our expectations. Like, if we win 9-10 games and we don't beat Michigan State, Ohio State, or Penn State, it's a failure. We have an expectation to win. And so I guess the difference is why Wisconsin keeps getting a pass, I believe, is because they're on the weaker side of the conference.
100%.
And they made 4 straight Rose or Big Ten championships.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's our expectations right now as fans. I think easily, and it's not gonna happen this year. But our expectations is to be in that Big Ten title game every year.
Right.
Mhm.
It just should, and it should be.
It should be because
That's the least. So that's like the least.
Because I think we talked about it. We dabbled, Kyle and I think we did a partial college football episode, 2-3 weeks ago, and we kind of talked about it, or what we did with Wonky. Like, who else is on that side? It's Iowa. I mean, Iowa's really good this year. But
It's Iowa. It's Minnesota.
and those
It's
are the only teams.
Northwestern.
It's very weak.
Northwestern puts up fights because they're rough and tough and they're well coached. Pat Fitzgerald, the phenomenal coach.
Mm-hmm.
I like PJ Fleck in Minnesota. He's really turned them around. But outside of Iowa, you don't have a traditional power. The other side is Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State. It's a gauntlet.
Maryland's not a scrub either. It looks like Rutgers is starting to turn their program around. And
if you want to
ranked at
get
the
into
of the year.
Big Ten talk right now, we could.
Yeah, we might as well. I mean, the last point about this is, I mean, the Wisconsin offense is a joke. The Wisconsin defense, on the other hand, is still elite, but you can only go so far with a really good defense. Ergo, Wisconsin, Texas A&M, a couple of these other teams that have really good defenses.
On offense, if you're they cannot score.
Yeah, if you have a run-of-the-mill offense, like an average offense, this team wins the Notre Dame game.
Yep.
I think the team is at least
close.
The Michigan game's really close and
basically
winnable.
Teams of the past.
Yeah,
right.
And this is also why we're going to talk about the Big Ten now as a whole. I think, and I'm also going to throw this in with one person real quick that I'm going to throw in as a fraud. We have a whole nother topic of teams that are frauds. I think there goes my internet. I think Penn State being number 4 is a joke because they barely beat a Wisconsin team that looks terrible on offense.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's their second best win? Auburn.
Auburn.
That's not a slouch win. I mean,
it's not a slouch win, but Auburn. This is not the Auburn team of a couple years ago, though. This is a much.
But Bo Nix is a legit quarterback.
Didn't he get benched last week?
Yeah, is he? He got benched against Georgia State actually when they were losing the whole game.
I'm just saying, up until fine.
He did play well last week at LSU. He did win at LSU. He played well last week. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, Penn State, honestly.
I get what you're saying.
I do understand. So my take on the Big Ten right now, and it's almost going to sound chalky, but the way this thing is setting up in my eyes, it just screams that Ohio State is going to run the table in the Big Ten. That is my honest opinion. I think CJ Stroud's just getting going. That defense couldn't be any worse than what it was in the beginning of the season. And the way Penn State and Iowa, they play each other this week. One of them's going to lose. So that opens the door for Ohio State again. Ohio State doesn't have Iowa on the schedule. They have Penn State, Michigan.
We're all ranked, though.
I know. I realize that, but
Michigan State is probably my biggest surprise.
They were up there, yeah. But my eyes, Ohio State is, in my opinion, they are better than all those teams.
Not defensively.
Not defensively.
I don't think so.
No.
I think
so. They don't have. Like Kyle said, that defense isn't as strong as it was.
They
don't have the next Bosa or Chase Young, or Okuda's the best in the NFL, but Okuda was locked down in college. I mean, Chris Olave is underperformed. I don't think CJ Stroud is that good.
You said that last time, and I thought that was laughable that you said that Olave is underperforming. He's still putting up really good numbers.
I more put it on Stroud than I do Olave.
But when I look at the offenses, and I'm talking modern day football, what wins now long term is offense, I would say, in college football for the most part. When I compare the offenses between Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, Michigan State. I know Michigan State can run the ball like crazy. But when you compare those, I'm taking Ohio State's offense over all of them by a lot in my eyes.
Okay. Whose offense?
Ohio State's offense.
Oh, yeah. And it's understandable because you have all of these weapons for them, and I was just bringing them up. You have 4 players above 100 yards.
And all those defenses of the other the four that are in contention, can they hold up for a full game? And if they don't, are those offenses going to score over 24 points? I mean,
So my thing is, I mean, obviously, who I root for, and it's painful because I go through this year in and year out. But I think Kyle will admit I'm a pretty realistic Michigan fan. I was very skeptical going into what game was it? You said, you asked me the question, is Michigan legit? And I said, like, no. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I do remember that.
We don't have, like, I didn't know if Cade McNamara was going to do it, and I'm still not sure. I'm more confident that he can show up for the big game, and they're the only team. They take care of the football. They're the only team in college football that doesn't have a turnover. Like, what is Ohio State usually? They get the turnovers. Their defense is not as good as it once was. Michigan looks like to have at least a rough balance in attack, as does Michigan State, which is ridiculous to me. Yeah. I still don't trust Clifford in Penn State. I don't know what to think of him. I think he's very one-dimensional.
The thing with Michigan, in my opinion, is that yes, they have proven and won all of their games outside of Rutgers convincingly. 38-17 against Wisconsin, 63-10 against NIU, Washington 31-10, and Western Michigan 47-14. Just remember those teams I just named off, though. Wisconsin, we have agreed, is dog shit. Rutgers, we saw Ohio State absolutely take it to them. I know a lot of people don't like talking about transitive properties or anything like that, but comparing a game against Rutgers versus Michigan to Rutgers versus Ohio State absolutely took it to Rutgers, and Rutgers almost beat Michigan. If you're talking about something like that,
Michigan, relax.
Hey, they had the ball down 7 with like 2 minutes left.
Yeah, but they didn't actually. Okay, fine. Well, fair, but it was.
It was a game. It was a game.
It was a game.
But
that Ohio State Rutgers game was over in like the first quarter.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Greg Schiano used to coach for Ohio State?
That I cannot.
In some capacity, wasn't he their D coordinator?
One capacity, I don't know.
I'll find out.
I obviously can't look. I'm driving.
Yeah,
I'll find out.
I'll say this: Michigan. I'm not saying they're not real, but this week actually at Nebraska is a legitimate test. Is it at Nebraska?
Yep.
Yeah. At Nebraska. Michigan's got back-to-back road games. Back-to-back road games in the Big Ten. I think Nebraska's not as bad as we thought. Nebraska's not as bad as we thought, maybe, from the beginning. That Week 0 game, they lost to Illinois. It's a weird week to play, that Week 0 game. They've been pretty darn good since then. I think they've won every game, I think, other than Oklahoma. They lost by 8 to Oklahoma, my bad.
Schiano has been the head coach of Rutgers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Rutgers again. He was the assistant to the head coach and defensive coordinator at Ohio State.
All right.
And I think we lost T-Bone.
Nah,
that's all right. Well, he'll come back in a little bit, but I personally think that when we're talking about the powers in the Big Ten, I still think it does go through Ohio State.
Yeah,
you still have Iowa, who's playing defense out of their minds and blowing out teams.
Insane.
But I still think that it goes through Ohio State. Granted, yes. I think the matchup's going to. I think Iowa is going to take it to Penn State this weekend. I don't think Penn State is honestly that good of a team. Hello, T-Bone. Welcome back.
Hello, I got a phone call. I had to decline it.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
You think? Wait, you think Iowa's taking it to Penn State, or what would you say?
I do because I think Penn State is a fraud. I think Penn State's a fraud.
I know. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, I'm the other way because Penn State for me, I don't like Clifford at all. But I also don't like Iowa's quarterback. I don't like. I know Iowa's at home, so that's probably the only reason they're favorites.
That home field advantage is something else. It is. I mean,
it is. It's not a night game, though. I'll give them that. But the same thing. I mean, so the defenses, I'm just comparing. The only advantage I think Penn State has, and the only advantage in the football game, is the skill positions. Penn State's got the more explosive skill positions. Now, if Clifford can get guys the ball, I don't know, but. If he does, I think that's the difference in that football game. It's going to be a one-score game. It'll probably be low scoring. Whoever makes a big play is probably going to win the game. But I would take Penn State. I like that defense just as much as Iowa's, in my opinion.
I cannot find the lines.
So I think this game really
like
lays the map of the Big Ten, like the Big Ten outlook.
It does.
I think Iowa is walk away with that side. But if Penn State loses, if Penn State wins, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
You have no idea because they still have to play Michigan and Ohio State. I don't know if they play Michigan. I don't know if they play Michigan State this year, but
they do. They play Michigan. They play Michigan State, I believe, as well. The thing with that game, you're right. Iowa. This is a huge. Iowa plays basically nobody the rest of the year. Iowa's going to be in that top 4 if they win this game for the rest of the year until that Big Ten championship.
Until the Big Ten,
yeah, they play nobody.
I mean, their best remaining team is Wisconsin.
And what is
even if Iowa loses? Even if Iowa loses, they should win that side pretty easily. Even if they lose this game, because they're not on the same side.
They're also going through. I think all of their games are on their side of the conference as well.
And that's where I think, like, if Iowa loses this game, Penn State has a much tougher schedule. If you got Iowa losing this game, you create even more chaos in college football because, I mean, you're going to have teams jumping in and out of that top 4. But if Iowa wins that game, they probably will be in the 3 spot for, like, the rest of the regular season.
Until the Big Ten, and they would
until the Big Ten title.
Right. So, do you guys think? Man, I don't. It's just so hard to picture that. Do you think anyone with remaining teams? So Penn State's undefeated on that side. Michigan's undefeated. I believe Michigan State is. Do any of those 3 run the table on that gauntlet?
I don't think anybody comes out of the Big Ten undefeated.
Okay. Yeah,
I honestly, because there's no juggernaut. There's no juggernaut.
Then you see Iowa lose. So then you're saying Iowa will lose this weekend?
I mean,
unless he's got Wisconsin pulling one out the bag later.
And even still, if Iowa makes it to the Big Ten championship, I don't think they're going to beat whoever they face, whether it's Michigan State, or Ohio State. Because at that point, if Ohio State runs the table, they will then come in undefeated in conference play, but they would have 1 loss on their resume against, at the time, the number 12 team in the country in Oregon, who climbed all the way up to 3 and then dropped 1 to Stanford.
You know what's a wild thing too? You could theoretically, like when you look at the landscape of college football right now, there's Georgia, Alabama, and then everybody else right now.
I would agree with that.
If you had like Ohio State come through the regular season in the Big Ten undefeated, playing,
they're not.
I'm just saying, if you did, you would have Iowa and them playing undefeated in the conference in the Big Ten title game. You could, even if Iowa lost, you could still make a case for them to get in
because of how dominating they were against certain
with wins over Iowa State, with wins over Penn State at the time. I mean, you can see it.
So we kind of talked about it a little bit pre-show, but like, I think right now, Cincinnati looks legit. They took care of business. They're supposed to be they're supposed to be the mid-major, whatever. They're not. Luke Fickell's got that team rolling. They beat a very good Notre Dame team. I think it should be in the playoff.
And a Big Ten team
Alabama,
in Indiana.
Yep. It should be Alabama. It should be Alabama, Georgia, Cincinnati, and whatever team comes from the Big Ten. No ACC, no Pac-12, no like. I think it's those. I think it's those 4.
I think
the Big Ten winner because of the gauntlet, and if Cincy continues what they're doing, you got to go Alabama, Georgia, Cincy, and whoever wins the Big Ten.
The ACC would need a freaking miracle at this point. So
the ACC would 100% need a miracle because their only bell cow that's in here, even in the top 25, is who? NC State at 23.
It's bad.
I think that's it.
I
think that's the only ACC team in the top 25 is Arizona State.
I think Wake Forest
or NC State. Yeah, and Wake Forest. My bad.
They're undefeated too, but like that, I mean,
that won't last. Who they got to face?
I like them. I like them.
No.
but it's not.
Undefeated Wake Forest winning the ACC. No, they're not getting in over
That would be
a
nuts.
one-loss Big Ten
I do-
champ. Like,
I do want to point out there that they would have to go through North Carolina,
yeah.
UNC. They would have to go through NC State, who's ranked, and they'd still have to beat Clemson. That's also in back-to-back weeks. There is
They
no
have
way
an
that's
opportunity
happening.
to build your resume, though. They do.
I know Clemson is not the team they were in the last few years, but to beat a program like Clemson, NC State, and North Carolina in 3 consecutive weeks, that would still be really hard pressed. And if they could come through in the end of the season undefeated,
Wake would have to go undefeated.
oh no, 100% Wake would have to go undefeated.
Completely.
But and that's the only way you're getting somebody into the college football playoff.
I still don't think they'd get in
Here's my thing.
because
Yeah, maybe.
Here's my thing with the topic that I have on the screen, which is what are the possibilities of Cincy making the playoffs? I still think it's really low, and there's many reasons why. I think
it's high.
I think it's low for the reason that Alabama and Georgia, if they go through the season undefeated, and one of them, unless they get absolutely
even
demolished,
if one of them has one loss going, if they play in the SEC title game and they're both undefeated, I think the loser still gets in.
100%. So you have
so too.
Alabama and Georgia
Easily.
sitting there no matter what. I think they're almost a lock at this point because they are just absolutely destroying everybody put in front of them. They will have some interesting matchups throughout the season, but I think Alabama has more of a cupcake schedule than Georgia does. But I think by the end of the season, we're going to see Georgia number 1, Alabama number 2, 3, or 4. I think you're going to get the Big Ten champion. And I think, honestly, if Oklahoma can start rounding into shape, and actually start, because they still have some good opponents to face on their schedule.
If
I know
Oklahoma goes undefeated and wins the Big 12, I think they would probably get in over Cincy just because of the conference.
Well, and they're facing Texas, Oklahoma.
Who?
Oklahoma. You're really behind us.
Yeah, I know.
No, you're good.
I know.
Oklahoma takes on Texas this weekend. Then they have a couple cupcake games with TCU, Kansas, and Texas Tech, but they still have to face Baylor, who was ranked last week. Iowa State, who coming into the season, they were ranked as well until they got trounced by Iowa, who is now the number 3 team in the country. And they still have to take on number 12, Oklahoma State. If Oklahoma can go through this and figure it out and really get it done, they could easily be sitting at number 4, because I think a big conference or a Power 5 conference title holds more than a group of 5 going undefeated and having your only 2 credible wins, a Notre Dame team that we'll see what happens throughout the year. And then Indiana, yes, a Power 5 team, but they're turning out to be not great, one of the great Power 5 teams anyway. So, I mean, I think they have a chance, but I think the chance is low.
I don't think the Big 12 is that good though. Like,
you have multiple teams ranked in the top 25.
I would say I honestly really think that they're going to lose the Red Rip. I think they're going to lose this week to Texas. I really do.
So
I think there's a very large possibility that happens.
Texas can run the ball all over everybody. They got a superstar running back all of a sudden, and that rivalry game can go anywhere. And I just don't trust Spencer Rattler right now. He's been just so hit or miss. Their games are so close. It's like they've been begging to lose. They've escaped. They've escaped multiple games. But Cincy right now, for me, I'm like 50-50 on Cincy making it, because I agree the top 2 obviously, and then you got the Big Ten championship. The Big Ten has earned a lot of credibility already this season, so the winner of that is getting in the playoff. Then the Pac-12 fell out last week. I think they're dead. The ACC, we've already talked about. They're terrible. Then it leaves the Big 12. So the Big 12, like you said, the Oklahoma. One-loss Oklahoma in the Big 12, like T-Bone said, I don't think it's as good as it's been in the past. So if they lose one game, I think Cincy goes undefeated and they could sneak the spot. It'll be 50-50 probably all the way to the end, because, never been a group of 5 in the playoffs. So it's hard to fathom, so it's never a guarantee, but I would say 50-50 and it is kind of up to Oklahoma. Whoever else is undefeated too. There's more undefeateds we could throw in. Yes.
So the rankings sit at, obviously, your top 4 is Bama, Georgia, Iowa, Penn State. then Cincinnati. Behind them is Oklahoma, Ohio State, Oregon at 8, Michigan at 9, BYU at 10. And then you got Michigan State, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Notre Dame, Coastal Carolina, and then you go down the rest of the names. This is a very weird top 25 nowadays because you don't have Clemson there. You don't have Texas A&M there. Arkansas is there for just saying Arkansas is there sounds weird because they haven't been relevant in so long.
The 25th team is San Diego State, and when I saw them in the rankings this week, I had absolutely no idea that they were undefeated.
What is going on with T-Bone? Why do we have 2 T-Bones right now?
2 T-Bones.
There's
T-Bone, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Oh, I'm just dropping.
No, you're good. We can see you now. Well, we can't see you, but we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Maybe.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Man, this is entertaining.
Yeah.
Now we can't hear you.
How about this? Let's throw out another random team that obviously, I mean, this is outside shot. They would need another group of 5. Well, independent, I believe. Yeah, BYU is undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy one. Their percentage is probably like 10%. They would need like Cincinnati to lose. They would need the Big Ten to eat each other alive.
I disagree.
But their schedule, I looked at BYU's schedule sitting at 10, which is pretty damn good for them too. They have some decent wins. Arizona State's climbing. They beat Utah. I guess that's not much right now. The other ones are iffy, but they got Boise State this week. I know they're down this year right now. They're 2-3. But then you got Baylor. That's Big 12. Then you go Washington State, Virginia, ACC. They play USC, who maybe they recover by the end of the year. If you're undefeated going into that last game as BYU, and like let's say Cincy slipped up and the Big 12 slipped up, I don't know. They could make it interesting. You're easily at top 5 probably at that point if you're still undefeated.
Well, you also got to think about the names that are at the top of this list. There are 4 Big Ten teams ahead of BYU. Yep. They're going to cannibalize themselves at some point. So I would say you need to take 2 of these teams out of the top 10 because I personally think, and this is going to lead into fraud teams in my opinion, I'm going to repeat what I said earlier. Penn State is a fraud. I think Penn State's going to lose this weekend, and I think they are capable of losing. They are capable of losing 1 or 2 more games, so you can climb over Penn State. I think Oregon drops because I don't think Oregon is as for real as we all think.
Oregon just lost like their running back to killed Ohio State. So like, I'm out on that too. They'll lose at least another in the Pac-12 randomly.
So let's put them at 8. Oklahoma, I do, as much as I was trying to talk them up and saying that they can make the playoff, I don't believe they're actually going to make the playoff. I think they are one game because all of these teams that they were close against, Tulane, I don't even know what that team is. What the hell is WCU?
WCU.
Western Carolina.
There you go.
Western Carolina. Nebraska, they beat West Virginia.
Barely.
And they barely beat Kansas State, and they barely beat Nebraska.
Mind you, like West Virginia too, like they gave up they lost to Texas Tech last week, who gave up like 70 points to Texas. I mean, and they won like 16-13, whatever that was. I mean, come on. I don't know.
I don't know what to make of Oklahoma. I think you were onto something with the Red River Showdown being if this offense does not get going early, I think Texas can get on top of them real fast because, like you said, they have an absolute stud at running back. Their offensive line is better than it's been in years past. And without Sam Ehlinger, I forgot who their quarterback is.
Thompson, Skyler. No, that's fucking what's his name?
Casey Thompson.
Casey Thompson. There you go. Skyler Thompson's. I forget.
And Bijan Robinson. It looks like he is an
absolute. Bijan Robinson is
a stud.
Yeah, like he is scary.
And if they can get decent defensive play, I don't think this is going to be a shootout. And if it's a shootout, I honestly think it favors Texas.
Yeah. And one team too that, obviously one team that would want to absolutely ruin Oklahoma's season. I know the Texas is back thing would probably come up and, every time you think Texas is back, they lose. But right now there's like no talk about Texas and they've been pretty darn good since their loss. They've been just beating the crap out of teams for the most part. I mean, no
58
one's
nothing, 70-35, and then they had a close game against TCU.
and they were up, I think, the whole game there. But
Yep.
and like that's, I mean, Texas, to get everybody excited about Texas again, then they'll probably go lose next week. But to get everybody excited about Texas again, when they have a point to prove, it seems like Texas all of a sudden pulls one out, and that it's the rivalry. If there's any team that wants to beat them more and ruin their season, it's them. So,
oh, he is in rain. That's why he was losing surface.
Oh God.
Well, don't worry, T-Bone. We'll be back next week, and you will be able to continue joining us.
There
and then
you
we
go.
will talk about how Michigan might lose. I'm just kidding. Who else do you have for fraud teams, though?
Fraud teams. Undefeated team. They're not in the top 10, but they're close. Their Big Ten team is 5-0 Michigan State for me. Michigan State, I don't think they've beaten anybody worth anything. They're 5-0. They're ranked 11th in the country. I mean, they're not over the top, but if you look at their schedule, and their defense has given up some point. It's not like they're blanking teams like other teams in the Big Ten. Northwestern, Youngstown State, Miami, which is a dumpster fire right now in Miami. Not the Miami we know. Nebraska, maybe not that bad of a football team, but only beaten by 3 in overtime. And then Western Kentucky, they give up 31, but they score on everybody. But they haven't played anybody yet. That team has not played anybody. Their quarterback is still kind of a question mark in big games. They could lose to Rutgers this week. Just saying, it's a possibility. They have.
I
Michigan
agree with you
up.
actually on that.
They have Michigan coming up. I think that team fades, and it's before November. They're just.
I think the world makes sense when Michigan State is good because I've like throughout when I was really following college football, like Russell Wilson, you had all the slew of running backs that we had.
Was fun.
Oh yeah. Kirk Cousins beating us on a last second thing. It just makes sense that when Michigan State is good, but they were so bad for so long. The only thing that's really good about this team, in my opinion, is they have a stud running back.
Yeah.
And we all know what a team with that is their strength. It's a stud running back gets you. It gets you to be the Wisconsin Badgers. It gets you about 9 to 10 wins a year and maybe a Big Ten championship game. But you're not on the Wisconsin Badgers side of the conference. You're on the gauntlet side of the wrong side. So they have Kenneth Walker, who's got 680 yards on the ground.
I mean, he's really incredible. He could win. Like, if he continues at this pace, how are you? And they win games, which I don't think they will. But if they did, I mean, you're talking he's going to be in the finals of the Heisman. The way
100%.
Nobody's talking about him really yet, but I mean, his stats are insane. He's leading. I think he's leading the country in rushing. If I'm not mistaken.
So when I'm going to look up at the end of the season, and I'm going to see 3 losses for the Michigan State Spartans.
Yeah, I think they'll have at least two by the end of this month. Yep.
Oh, I agree. I think they could definitely drop one to Rutgers. I don't think Indiana is any good, so we're just going to stick with that.
The quarterback's hurt too. They're a mess.
And then Michigan, I think they can easily lose to Michigan as well.
Oh yeah.
And then you finish up the season with Ohio State and Penn State back to back. That's rough.
No thanks. Yeah,
that is fucking rough.
Yeah, no thanks.
So I'm looking.
They could lose 4 games.
No, 100%. So I'm looking up and down this. I think Coastal Carolina's a fraud. I think they are a solid team. They're good. They're fun team to root for.
That's so. Are they going to lose? Are they going to lose?
No, they're not. That's the whole thing. They're not going to lose. But everybody's going to be screaming. Why are we not in the playoff? Why are we not in the playoff? They haven't beat anyone, and they're not going to play anyone. The best win that they have and will have is Kansas.
App State, maybe.
Maybe App State. Yeah.
App State, but yeah, that's it.
Like, Jesus. They've got Arizona. Or I don't even think that's Arizona State. Who is this?
It's
Arkansas State.
Arkansas State this week. Yeah, I love the Chanticleers in that to cover the 19. But yeah, no, I don't even know. I mean, they're probably frauds. I don't know if we can tell even. I don't
think we're going to be able to call them frauds
until a bowl game. They'll play somebody good. They'll play somebody good, not great, but they'll play somebody good in a bowl game, and then
they'll play an unranked Big Ten team or like an unranked ACC team.
Decent, yeah, someone like Clemson. They keep falling. Let's do a Clemson Coastal.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
The ass whooping that Coastal Carolina would get in that game is ridiculous.
If they won, though, it would be like the greatest thing to ever probably happen to the group of 5.
Oh, 100%. So
All the middle schools.
here is my biggest fraud of the year so far.
Mhm.
Ole Miss. They
Ooh.
came in, they climbed all the way to what, like 10 or 11 in the AP?
They were like 12 or 14 last week. I can't remember. 12.
So, and the best win that they had at the time before rolling into Tuscaloosa is Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Louisville, APSU, which is Austin
P.
Yeah. I don't know.
They scored a lot of points.
Yeah. And then they beat Tulane 61-21. Okay, cool. You put up a lot of points. You throw a lot, and your quarterback looked really good. And then Alabama rolls into town and reminds you that, oh yeah, we're not Alabama.
Yeah, I know.
And as much as I love talking college football, we have to always remember that Alabama, as long as Nick Saban is there, Alabama's going to be good.
Yeah.
And it's
that's where I rebuttal on Ole Miss, because is Ole Miss really proven a fraud by getting like ran over by Alabama?
No, I'm only saying they're a fraud because everybody's putting them up on this high pedestal when they've beaten literally no one. Your best win was against Louisville, and now you're gonna get a reprieve. It's what I'm calling the Fraud Bowl this year. It's Arkansas.
I love Ole Miss this week.
I love Ole Miss too this week, but I think this is what I'm calling it, the Fraud Bowl, because that honestly, I think that's what it is. It's Ole Miss against Arkansas. I don't think Arkansas is for real either. That got proven when they went up against
the tier down. It's like we had that 1-2, and they were all like trying to get there, and it was just like you both got ran over. So now you're just like playing for like the consolation.
Well, and I listen to Barstool's college football podcast, Unnecessary Roughness, all the time.
I do
and
too.
Like they've been talking so much mad shit about Arkansas because they went up against Texas and Texas lost to Arkansas, and then they were talking shit about Arkansas when they were going up against A&M, and it was all this, and then they kept winning games. And I think the SEC is down outside of your two powerhouses because in the beginning of the season, you had a lot of Big Ten teams face each other. You had Wisconsin face Penn State. You had Ohio State lost to a different conference, but you had all of those in rank. You still had this SEC facing these teams outside of their conference, so they're still loading up their wins. They're looking like they're really good teams, but in reality, I don't think many of these SEC teams are true juggernauts or capable of climbing up the ranks in the SEC.
Yeah, I think with the SEC, the big letdown this year is Texas A&M. It's kind of brought that conference, because for me at the beginning of the year, I thought it was going to be Georgia, Bama, A&M right there. But A&M quarterback got hurt. Their defense isn't as good as we all thought, and they lost Mississippi State last week, lost to Arkansas. They're pretty bad. But I know Florida lost last week, but I like Florida. I think Florida's pretty good. I love Kentucky. I've been betting on Kentucky every week. Kentucky's 4-1 ATS. Kentucky is actually really good, and they have an opportunity to play themselves into the conversation with. I know.
No, they don't. They get LSU this weekend, and then their hopes and dreams get crushed.
I think they beat them. Then
LSU, that's fine, and then they get their hopes and dreams get crushed.
Then probably. Then you got the Georgia game. That'll probably be like the Arkansas game going to Georgia. It'll be hyped up because I think they beat LSU this week. They'll be undefeated. It'll be hyped up again, just like the Arkansas game, and Georgia they'll score like 3 points at best.
Yeah, because Georgia is the fiercest freaking team on the planet. Jesus,
defense is insane.
So moving on, before we get to Heisman favorites, what are some big matchups you want to talk about this weekend?
Obviously, start with Texas and Oklahoma. I mean, this could shape the Big 12. You got, obviously, it's the Red River rivalry. It's that. And you got Oklahoma, again, like they've been living on the edge for the whole season. They They won by one possession against Nebraska. Tulane gave them a run in the beginning of the year. Kansas State, it was a 6-point game last week. West Virginia was a one possession game. And they haven't really played anybody really, really good yet. And Texas, I wouldn't say is really good, but they're a step ahead of those other teams. And I mean, Texas has all to play for too. If you're Texas, you win this game, you almost are saying, well, we got a shot too, because we can go win the Big 12. I mean, so everything is to play for in that game. And I don't know if Oklahoma loses that game and they come back from it.
No, they 100% don't, because of how close those wins were against these other lesser teams. And when you go up against a team like, it's weird because a lot of people thought that Oklahoma's defense was finally going to be good this year.
Yes,
they're better than they've been in the past, but it's still Big 12 football at the end of the day. They're still allowing an average of 240 passing yards, which is a lot less than they generally allow, but they are a Big 12 low, averaging 83 or high. You know what I mean? They're the best defense. They're the best rushing defense.
The thing is, their offense, Spencer Rattler is just what I don't know what it is with these 5-star quarterbacks this year, but he's just the one like just getting by because they're just winning games, and he hasn't been exposed like the other ones we talked about. But I mean, it's the same thing. That offense has insane amount of weapons. Every year you watch Oklahoma play, you got 5-star guys in skill positions, and there's no reason. You've had worse quarterbacks, ranked quarterbacks, come into Oklahoma and they're scoring points on points on points. And
Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, the list can go on and on and on of these NFL quarterbacks.
And Rattler was talked about being right with those guys, and it's not even close.
No, he was talked about being a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. I don't think he's even going to be a first rounder now. No, because you have such a high flying offensive mind in Lincoln Riley, who's so known for exploiting the good things in a quarterback. He's the quarterback whisperer. That's what his nickname has been for how many years, and that's what he's known as. I don't think Spencer Rattler is a good quarterback, and if Lincoln Riley can't fix you, nobody's going to want you in the NFL. Then
his decision making is just terrible. And to be fair to him though, and to Lincoln Riley and to Oklahoma this week, I mean, you can sit there at 5-0 and say, well, if we beat Texas by 3 touchdowns and put up 48 points or something, people are going to start to forget about all the other games. So they have a chance to make it right.
Because they just kind of lounged through those games because they were ranked. What were they ranked at the beginning? The preseason AP. What were they? 4th?
It was top 5. It was top like 4 for sure. I think it was like almost 2, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they might have been 2 because everybody was saying how good this defense could be, and they're just not. I honestly think
rose up when they beat Clemson. So I think it was 2, and everybody was in love with them because the defense is better, and then the Rattler's amazing. And
so are you betting on this game?
I'm taking Texas.
Do you have the money line?
Yeah, I'm taking Texas.
Okay. You
those little point spreads. Also, there's been a trend like last week. Those under like 7-point spreads. If you took the money line for the underdog, it was like 16 and 14.
Oh, 100%.
So with the way college football is this year, if you're giving me plus money on a team in a game like that, just give me it. I'll take my chances.
Okay, I'm going to ask you. We're only going to be talking about ranked games, by the way. I'm only if you want to talk about it, stop me. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask you if you're betting on it. Maryland, Ohio State.
Just give me Ohio State. There's not much to say.
21 point spread.
Yeah, to his brother. I mean, how could you? I mean, and I think Ohio State right now, they're in a situation where we have a loss. We have to show something. We have to beat the hell out of everyone. And Maryland, every time Maryland plays a big game, it's horrible. To his brother threw, 5 intercept. What did he do against Iowa? It was disgusting.
It was 5. So but Iowa's defense, that's not something to be like disappointed in.
Yeah, but like,
whoa, what the hell? Somebody has 2,000 yards passing right now.
Who is it?
Fresno State's quarterback has 2,200 passing yards.
Jake Haener. Yeah, Hainer was Fresno is now irrelevant because I was up at like 2 a.m. last weekend watching them lose at Hawaii,
Yeah.
where he turned the ball over 4 times. So he was a great hype story until
Jesus, I was just
lost
looking
to
at all
Hawaii.
I was looking at was like
Yeah.
the top quarterbacks because
Yeah.
Talia is 10th, ranked 10th in passing yards.
Right. And then he played
Iowa.
and they made him look like a no one.
Very true.
And that's Ohio State. Like, I mean, you give up 52 points if you're Maryland to Iowa's offense, which is like a game management offense.
Oh, 100%.
I'm gonna ride with Ohio State. Like I said, I'm riding with Ohio State to the end here until they lose again. I'm gonna ride with them. That's the way I'm doing it. So yeah.
All right. So I mean, we were talking about this briefly before. Did you take Michigan State or Rutgers? The spread is 5.5.
That one I did not touch.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, no, because again, Michigan State's a fraud team to me. But will they just have too much talent because they're Michigan State compared to Rutgers like Ohio State had? I don't know.
The only thing I would touch in that game is the over-under. It's 50. I would take the under. Because it's Big Ten football.
Yeah, it's Big Ten football.
It's 50, Big Ten football.
If you see a 50 and it's like not an Ohio State game right now, it's not a bad play.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But, yeah, nothing in that. I mean, that could go anyway, though.
One of the marquee matchups, Arkansas, the Fraud Bowl. What I done this Arkansas Ole Miss. The line is set at Mississippi or Ole Miss at 6.
At 6, yeah. I'm taking Ole Miss. I love Ole Miss this week. That Arkansas. I look at it this way. I think Ole Miss can score on any defense that's not named probably Alabama or Georgia right now,
Mm-hmm.
and Arkansas's offense it's not that great in the first place, I don't think. Mm-hmm. I mean, their quarterback Jefferson, I forget his first name, but Jefferson, he was in like a brace last week, like an offensive lineman brace. Mm-hmm. Are they going to keep up? I just can't see Ole Miss not winning by 2 touchdowns. And it's hard for Arkansas. They've had a ridiculously difficult schedule out the gate. I mean, Texas, Alabama, like they have all these teams in Texas A&M. It's almost like they've kind of, I don't know, I can't see them continuing on with this pace.
Yeah.
And now you might have a hangover from Georgia just getting absolutely blanked.
Very true.
Ole Miss by 2 touchdowns for me.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt, Florida, I don't care about. Oh, God, the line 38.5. Holy shit.
I'm not touching it, but yeah, no need to talk about Vanderbilt ever.
Georgia, Auburn, I don't think we need to talk about that one either. I do think Georgia covers that by a lot.
I've stayed away from Georgia's numbers all year. And it's stupid because Georgia has just boat raced everyone. Mm-hmm. And this week would be the week that I would take Georgia just because I'm betting Maryland. I'm going to not Maryland. I'm going to bet Alabama and Georgia the rest of the year until they prove me wrong.
That's fair. JT Daniels only has. Did somebody else start for them at some point?
Yeah, Bennett, the backup. He started week 2 against UAB.
I was wondering why his numbers.
He's like so average. JT Daniels was hurt last week.
Stetson Bennett.
Bennett. Yeah, Stetson Bennett. He's like not bad. I don't see. The thing is, I don't think he can win. They need JT Daniels to beat an Alabama.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%.
Yeah, but I could see them beating any other team with Bennett as the quarterback too. He's not that bad.
I mean, with an elite defense like they have and all of the weapons that they have, like this is the most stacked Georgia teams I've seen since Todd Gurley was at Georgia.
I think they're probably better than that too.
I would probably agree because their quarterback was Jake Fromm at the time, I think.
Yep.
Boise State, BYU. I would take BYU in that game.
BYU. I'm on that bandwagon right now, and Boise is 2-3. Boise wins like a couple good games. Every good team they played, they've lost.
Oh yeah,
They're just not it. The quarterback's not good. Just no.
So I have two more matchups, and then we'll talk about our last topic and get out of here because we only got 5 minutes left. Penn State and Iowa. The line is set for Iowa at 1.5. I like that over under with 41. That's still going under.
Yeah, that might. Yeah. I know you hate Penn State. I'm going Penn State. I'm going with the skill positions are the difference in the game. I think this game is one big play. It could be one big play. And that could come defensively or offensively, which defensively might favor Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
But if I look at it, the offensive side of the ball, I'm taking the skill positions of Penn State over Iowa. That's it. It might be the score might be literally 9-6.
I agree. But the thing is that, yes, you have all these weapons on Penn State, but I think Iowa's defense rivals that of Georgia's defense.
Good.
The problem is with Iowa, they don't have as many offensive pieces.
Yeah.
So I think both of these teams, yes, they're number 3 and 4 in the country right now. I don't see either of them making the college football playoff. I think they're going to be replaced by the end of the year by somebody.
Yeah, I could see
who that those two teams are meant
Clifford,
to be seen later.
Clifford too. It's a possibility with Clifford. Like Iowa could just completely
collapse.
Clifford could get 8 alive, and that's like I'm taking that's a plus money play for me. Mm-hmm. Just take the plus money because it's a toss up.
The last game I want to talk about real quick is Kentucky LSU, because I want to see what you think about Kentucky.
What's
if you think
line?
The line is 3.5 in Kentucky's favor.
Give me Kentucky. I've been riding Kentucky all year.
Yeah, I mean,
LSU,
I think it's
I don't think LSU is really good. LSU, I bet against them like 2 weeks ago at Mississippi State. They made me look like a fool. And then LSU last week, I liked them, didn't bet it. And then they go play at home against Auburn, which they have a chance to prove themselves. And then they go and just fall down again.
Mm-hmm.
Against an Auburn team that we're like iffy on. So like, yeah, Kentucky, I seriously think their defense is legit. Their quarterback's pretty good. They just find a way to win games.
Very true.
They find a way to win games.
I do have a question about one other game. It's a yes or no question. That's all I want, and then we'll move on right away. Does Alabama cover the spread of 17.5 against A&M?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Who is your Heisman favorite, my friend?
My Heisman favorite right now it's gotta be Alabama's quarterback. Why am I blanking?
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Right now, he is the favorite. I'm pretty sure by a lot of people.
I would agree with that.
But I don't know. I have an out. There's a few guys that could. I don't think it's anywhere close. But right now, there's no other real guys up there candidate-wise. If Alabama were to go undefeated, like he's probably going to win it because there's just no one else I think that can get him. Like Matt Corral was up there for a while, but Ole Miss, he just got exposed. That's dead, I think.
You don't have a dominant defensive player that could come up and do it. I would say the best defensive player in the country didn't play a couple games, and it's Oregon's Thibodeau.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he didn't play a couple games. He also didn't play in that Ohio State game, which is insane.
Yeah. As a defensive player, though, you can't miss games.
No, 100%. So. I think somebody who has an opportunity at not a quarterback is Bijan Robinson, the running back from Texas, if they can continue on the correct trajectory.
That's a good one. And that I said Michigan State's a fraud, so it's not going to happen. But Kenneth Walker, too, has an opportunity as well if they can continue to win games. And he runs the ball like he is leading rusher in country right now at Michigan State. So he's got a chance. But Robinson, if Texas runs the table, wins the Big 12.
I think you at the very least see him in New York for that ceremony.
Yeah, he's right there. And also, my last shout, I will say, I don't know why I'm all over Ohio State tonight. CJ Stroud did not have a good start to the season, but CJ Stroud is still alive, I think, for it.
I think he is alive for it. I don't think he wins it, but I think he is another one. I think Sam Howell is another one that's interesting. Yes, he's lost a couple games. And
I love Sam Howell like as an NFL prospect, but he's just had like, I don't know. He doesn't have enough weapons really at North Carolina, and it's really knocked it out. Like the loss to Georgia Tech for me was like
huge, enormous.
Yeah, I just can't see it. Stroud for me, if they run the table, he puts up numbers like he did like against Rutgers or something last week.
He also didn't play a week.
Yeah, but that
Stroud
was
didn't play a
it was
week, so
against
take that into account. That's also another
Yeah.
300, 400 yards that could be taken away from
400, 500 against Akron. But yeah,
right.
I just think they would need an Alabama loss probably.
100%.
They would probably need an Alabama loss, but if they ran the table and he comes out the rest of the season and he's just like, I don't know, the quarterbacks in the past at Ohio State all of a sudden, he's right there. I mean, that's an outside shot for me.
So real quick, we don't need to go too in depth. I just want to ask you an NBA question because I've been dying to talk basketball for a very long time. What do you think the chances are of the Bucks not repeating, but repeating their appearance in the NBA Finals, like getting through the East?
It depends on Kyrie getting a vaccine. Yeah, I mean, it's in all seriousness. I don't want to bring that up, but like in all seriousness, that does play a huge role right now.
The thing is that I think the Bucks got so much better, and it's crazy because they just won a title, and they got their bench got significantly better.
I agree. Grayson Allen for me is a huge pickup. I love Grayson Allen. You get Dante healthy, then you got all of a sudden you got two guards. Like we got Pat Connaughton too,
and you still have George Hill. George Hill as well. Yeah,
George Hill gives me like broken heart vibes every time. I saw him last night, and I tweeted it. I saw him last night with that 3 jersey on in the green, and it just gave me like, damn, did we just lose another playoff series? But no, they have the depth at guard way more than they had last year. They have everybody back from the team other than PJ Tucker. Bobby Portis is still on the team. I think they're right there. I would say it's the Nets and
then the Bucks.
The Bucks. I mean, I couldn't see anybody beating either of them.
Yeah.
So I think it's right there. It's 50-50. I think the Bucks are going to take the first half of the season and they're just going to kind of like scroll on through it. You know, I could see Giannis resting a ton. I could see guys resting a ton. I think we're going to go full San Antonio Spurs when they were winning titles.
I would love it.
I
would love it.
But
so
right
we're going to be starting up a basketball portion of our podcast probably midway through like November. We're going to marinate some football still in there, and then we're going to start talking about basketball. We might do one quick episode of a season preview. Keith, if you would like to join me,
I can do that. Right. I can do that for the basketball any day for that.
All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on this episode. Be sure to watch out because Keith will be back. I'm sure we're going to have him back every week for college football because we need his betting knowledge. Normally, T-Bone's the same way, but T-Bone bets quite a bit as well. So you guys can talk.
In a rainstorm.
Yeah, he's in a rainstorm. Next week, we'll get him. And this is not the normal day we will record this episode. We will be normally recording on Thursdays at 6?
Yeah.
At Thursdays at 6. Be sure to watch that. This has replaced our preview episode of the NFL. We kind of do an all-in-one on Tuesdays now. And be sure to watch out for a possible baseball episode tomorrow. Haven't really fully ironed out all the details of that yet. But Keith, thank you so much for coming on here.
Go Cardinals tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry. I want the Dodgers out.
I don't want to see that hot.
That's another topic for not another day because it's about to happen. But
that's very true.
That
maybe we'll put together an episode. Maybe even I'll even show up to it because I don't know a lot about baseball, but I know enough. But for the Davis Sports Feud,
start tomorrow.
yeah, we'll see tomorrow. I'll see if we can throw a couple people together and get a show together. But for the Davis Sports Feud, I'm Kyle. That's Keith. We'll talk to you soon. Later, guys.
Yeah.
Wesley Matthews Jr. Dodgers win! Finally! The wait is over!
What's going on, guys? And we're back with the Davis Sports Feud, and I got my buddy Corey Sparks here.
Crossed up, definitely pushed by Paul George, but everything's been pushed these days.
I just don't think this offense is going to work very well, especially under a defensive coach like Robert.
But I would still probably take like Najee Harris over one of the wide receivers.